It was just a regular afternoon when I decided to take a study break and scroll through Snapchat. I was sitting in my usual spot on the second floor of the campus library, books and notes spread out across the large wooden table. The afternoon sun streamed in through the tall arched windows, providing a warm glow to the otherwise sterile environment. As I mindlessly flipped through snaps from friends, I noticed a notification for a message from someone named Jake25. I didn't recognize the name, but figured it was just someone new from one of my classes or clubs. I opened the message and saw it simply said, "Hey cutie." A bit unusual for a first message, but I replied with a casual, "Hey, what's up?" Jake responded immediately, asking me about my major and other small talk topics. He seemed nice enough, if a bit eager, so I didn't think much of continuing the conversation. We chatted about classes, music, movies, normal stuff. After about 15 minutes, he asked what my plans were for the upcoming weekend. I mentioned possibly going to a party with a few friends, but I wasn't entirely sure yet. He quickly responded saying we should meet up and get to know each other better. Okay, red flag. I told him I wasn't interested in meeting strangers from the internet and tried to politely end the conversation. Jake kept messaging me, insisting we would hit it off and have so much fun together. At this point, I was getting uncomfortable, so I stopped replying altogether. I figured he would get the hint eventually. I went back to studying, pushing the weird encounter out of my mind. The next afternoon, I settled in at my usual library table on the second floor. Spreading out my books, I pulled my phone out to use as a study break reward after I finished the first chapter. As soon as I'd opened Snapchat, a notification for a message from Jake popped up. I felt uneasy, but curiosity got the best of me and I opened it. Attached was a photo of me, sitting in the exact spot I was currently in, taken from the end of the stacks behind me. I froze, heart racing. How did he know where to find me? I never told him what school I went to, let alone which library I studied in. Hand shaking, I immediately blocked his account and deleted the message. Over the next few days, I was constantly looking over my shoulder whenever I left my apartment. I didn't get any more messages from Jake, but the paranoia was overwhelming. I stopped going to the library to study, too anxious about being alone there after the disturbing incident. My friends noticed I was acting jumpy and distracted. I finally broke down and told them about the creepy Snapchat guy. They were equal parts concerned and angry that someone would terrorize me like that. They offered to go everywhere with me for the next few weeks, walking between classes, going to the dining hall, even just to the bathroom. I was so grateful for their support. About a week later, I was leading statistics class when I felt my phone buzz in my pocket. I pulled it out and saw a text from an unknown number. "Hey cutie, why'd you block me?" My blood ran cold. I immediately showed the text to my friend Sarah, who was walking with me. She confirmed that it was not a number she recognized. We rushed back to my apartment where I told my roommate what had happened. We'd all agreed I needed to go to the police. At the station, I showed the officers all the Snapchat messages from Jake and a text he had somehow sent to my personal number. They filed a report and said they would do their best to trace the accounts, but made no guarantees. I spent the next few weeks jumping at every little sound. I withdrew from my usual social activities, too nervous to be out in public alone. I was constantly battling waves of paranoia, convinced I was being watched or followed every time I left my apartment. My friends did their best to help me feel safe, always walking me home late at night and keeping an eye out for anything suspicious when we were together. I stopped posting on all social media, going completely silent online out of fear that Jake might see something. About a month after the last message, I finally got a follow-up call from the police. They regretfully informed me they had not been able to conclusively trace either account back to an individual. The Snapchat had been deleted shortly after Jake sent the photo, and the unknown number was from a burner phone untraceable to a specific person. Although it was disappointing not to get definitive answers, I finally felt like I could breathe a little easier knowing the police had hit a dead end in their investigation. In the end, I decided to delete my Snapchat account altogether. I didn't want to risk something like that happening again. It took me a long time to stop anxiously looking over my shoulder everywhere I went. I jumped at every notification sound on my phone, assuming the worst. But slowly, things started to feel normal again. I was able to laugh with friends again, focus on classes, and stop feeling like I was being watched. That chilling Snapchat encounter taught me to be much more cautious online. I only message with people I know now, I'm careful about what personal details I share on social media. I don't take safety for granted anymore. But I'm grateful nothing worse happened, and that I had such amazing support from friends to help me get through that terrifying ordeal. In time, the paranoia has dissipated, although I'm still occasionally haunted by the memory of that photo. I hope I never have to feel that violated by a stranger again. It was just another ordinary day when I received a Snapchat request from a random girl I didn't know. Her Bitmoji avatar looked normal enough, and her score was low, only a few hundred, so I figured why not accept it and potentially make a new friend. I'm always looking to expand my social circle and get more people to snap with. She messaged me immediately after I accepted, saying, "Hey cutie, what's up?" I was a bit confused by this right off the bat since she hadn't even seen what I looked like yet. My Bitmoji doesn't necessarily reflect what I really look like, but I just replied back with a simple hello, and we started having a normal conversation for 10 to 15 minutes. Eventually, she sent me a selfie of herself. I was genuinely shocked when I saw it. She looked exactly like a friend of my girlfriend's who I had met one time when we all went out together. I dismissed it at first, thinking it must just be coincidence. People can sometimes look eerily similar to each other, so I didn't think much of it. She then requested a selfie from me in return, so I sent her a very basic one, just my face. Upon seeing it, she called me cute, which made a bit more sense now that she knew what I looked like. But then she started flirting with me pretty heavily, even after I had mentioned I had a girlfriend. She was saying things like wishing I was single and that my eyes were so beautiful. She even started to get kind of explicit with some of her compliments about me. Out of nowhere, she proceeded to send me 2 more selfies. But this time they were photos of 2 other girls I knew. One was another friend of my girlfriend's who I had met a few times, and the other was a girl I recognized as an old classmate from middle school. Assuming this must be some kind of twisted loyalty test or prank for my girlfriend, I replied saying that it wasn't going to work and I would never cheat on her after 2 years together. But the mystery girl got angry, asking who this Aurora was that I had mentioned. Now I started to get genuinely freaked out and asked her who she really was and why she was doing this. She seemed upset, claiming that people always accuse her of being fake or a catfish because she apparently just happens to look exactly like people they know. To try and get to the bottom of this increasingly bizarre situation, I asked her to send me some more pictures of herself. She proceeded to send me 5 additional photos. But each one was yet another girl I was acquainted with, some I knew better than others. I asked her bluntly where she had gotten all these photos from, and she continued to insist that they were really pictures of her, promising over and over again that she wasn't a catfish using photos of other people. After around 10 minutes of me pushing her to reveal her true identity and getting increasingly unsettled, she sent me a photo that chilled me to the bone, a picture of the front exterior of my childhood home that I had moved away from years prior. It was clearly taken at the exact same time we were having this conversation, not some old photo from the past. Now I was genuinely disturbed because there's no way my girlfriend could be behind this twisted game. She never knew I had lived at that house since we started dating long after I moved. I started to wonder if this could all just be some elaborately cruel prank by a close friend who had access to old photos. But some of the girls in the pictures were acquaintances I had never even told my best friends about. The mystery girl then proceeded to send me additional photos of another girl I'd vaguely recognized but didn't really know, and then even more chilling, candid shots of my girlfriend herself. Some showed her sitting at stoplights in her car, others showed her walking into the building where we go to college. My heart sank into my stomach. I immediately blocked the account and frantically called my girlfriend, telling her what had just happened. She swore she had no idea who could be behind it, and that none of her friends would do something like this. She also had no clue that someone had been taking pictures of her going about her daily life. I haven't heard anything further from that unsettling account since I blocked it. My friends have all made their Instagram accounts private now too, since that seems to be where the mystery person got so many of the photos from. My girlfriend and I have also turned off our Snapchat maps entirely, not even sharing our locations with close friends anymore. I still desperately want to believe this was all just some elaborate, twisted prank by someone I know, but deep down, it seems more likely that some unknown stalker has been closely watching both me and my girlfriend. I don't know if we'll ever find out who was behind it. The whole experience has left me feeling shaken and uneasy. we're both much more cautious now about our online presence and privacy. I'm just relieved the harassment stopped, but it's still so unsettling to think someone had been spying on us that closely without us having any idea. I hope neither of us ever have to deal with a situation like that again. The thought that some stranger could be watching my girlfriend's every move still gives me chills. It was just another regular day walking home from school with my best friend Claire. We were being our usual giggly selves, snapping silly selfies and posting them to our Snapchat stories without a care in the world. I had location services enabled on Snapchat, but I never thought twice about potential risks. After all, what's the harm in people knowing what neighborhood I'm in? It's not like my exact address was visible. Oh, how wrong I was. Claire and I said our goodbyes when we reached the corner where we split off towards our respective homes. I was scrolling through notifications when I saw I had a snap from an unfamiliar username, just a random jumble of letters and numbers. In a way, what I assumed was a spam bot, I immediately blocked the account and went about my business. The notification sound from my phone jolted me out of my thoughts. I picked it up from the coffee table, expecting to see a text from my friend Claire confirming our dinner plans. But when I unlocked the screen, I was met with an unfamiliar Snapchat notification from a nonsensical username. Figuring it was just some spam account adding people at random, I dismissed the notification and set my phone back down. A couple hours later, I heard the Snapchat sound again. Letting out an annoyed sigh, I grabbed my phone to see what nonsense that weird account had sent me now. Probably just a phishing link or something gross to try and get my attention. But as soon as the snap loaded, all the blood drained from my face. It was a photo of my house, my actual house. I could see my blue front door and the rose bushes I had just pruned that morning. And shaking, I frantically typed out a reply asking how they knew where I lived and begging them to leave me alone. The response popped up quickly, making my head spin and my stomach turn. You have your Snapchat location turned on. And by the way, you and your friend Claire looked very nice walking home together this afternoon. I lurched forward, bile rising in my throat. This person had been following me, watching me, and I had unknowingly let them pinpoint exactly where I lived. Hands fumbling, I desperately toggled off all of my location settings, but it was too late. My phone buzzed again, another notification from that evil account. I hesitated, almost too terrified to look, but with trembling fingers I opened the snap. An ear-piercing scream escaped my lips at the sight of the graphic image, my best friend Claire lying on the ground, eyes vacant. Hyperventilating, I dialed the cops, barely able to form a sentence between guttural sobs as I showed the officers the chilling snaps that would haunt me forever. As they rushed to the scene, I sat paralyzed on the couch, waves of anguish and disbelief crashing over me. I just prayed it wasn't too late. But soon the officers returned with the news no one wants to hear. They had found Claire's body in her basement, discarded like trash next to the murder weapon. My sweet, vibrant friend was gone, while her depraved killer was still out there somewhere. All that remained was an awful ache inside me that would never fully heal. I deleted Snapchat immediately. Part of me wished I could permanently erase the image of Claire's gruesome fate. I was racked with guilt over not realizing the danger of having my location visible to strangers online. It was such an innocuous mistake that cost my best friend her life. In the weeks that followed, I warned everyone about checking their social media privacy settings. You never know who might be watching you, cataloging your posts, piecing together your daily patterns and whereabouts. I lost Claire because of a seemingly harmless selfie. It's a cautionary tale I hope protects other young people out there. Claire and I had been friends since kindergarten, inseparable for over a decade. She was the sister I never had. We told each other everything, our lives intertwined. I used to love our daily walks home, chatting and laughing, capturing memories on Snapchat. Now those carefree memories are tainted by fear and grief. I'm still struggling to process the traumatic loss. Some days I can't get the image of Claire's body out of my mind. I constantly replay those events, wondering if I could have prevented it by disabling my location sooner. My counselor says these feelings are normal, that healing will take time. It comforts me to think Claire's death was not meaningless. Her story is a sobering reminder about online safety. That monster exploited a tiny location tag to stalk and murder my best friend. I'd never want that to happen to anyone else. So I share my cautionary tale for Claire. If it makes someone double-check their social media settings, her death saved a life. Wherever she is now, I hope Claire knows her passing brought greater awareness about technology dangers. I miss her every day. Her laughter, her wisdom beyond her years, our shared dreams and secrets. She will always be my best friend, and the lessons from her death live on through me. I owe it to Claire to spread awareness so no one else suffers her fate. It's the only way I can attempt to transform this tragedy into purpose. It was just another regular day walking home from school with my best friend Claire. We were being our usual giggly selves, snapping silly selfies and posting them to our Snapchat stories without a care in the world. I have location services enabled on Snapchat, but I never thought twice about potential risks. After all, what's the harm in people knowing what neighborhood I'm in? It's not like my exact address was visible. Oh, how wrong I was. Claire and I had been as thick as thieves since kindergarten. We were attached at the hip, telling each other our deepest secrets and dreams. She was the sister I never had. As we got older, we fell into a comfortable routine, walking home together after school, chatting and laughing, capturing memories on Snapchat along the way. It was our special bonding time, just the two of us in our own little world. That fateful day started out like any other. The autumn air was crisp as Claire and I made our way through the neighborhood we knew like the back of our hands. The trees were ablaze with vibrant fall colors that made for perfect backdrops for our selfies. I had location sharing enabled on Snapchat, but didn't think much of it. I figured there was no harm in people knowing what neighborhood we were in. It's not like they could see my exact address or anything. Oh, how very wrong I was. Claire and I said our goodbyes when we reached the corner where we split off towards our respective homes. I gave her a quick hug, telling her I'd text her later. As I scrolled through notifications, I saw I had a snap from an unfamiliar username, just a random jumble of letters and numbers. And what I assumed was a spam bot, I immediately blocked the account and went about my business. A couple hours later, I received another snap from what seemed to be the same incomprehensible username. Rolling my eyes, I opened it, expecting to see some phishing scam or racy content intended to lure me to a sketchy website. What appeared on my screen made my heart stop. It was a photo of my house, my actual house. The blood drained from my face as I frantically replied, asking how they knew where I lived. The response came quickly, making me nauseous. You have your Snapchat location on. And by the way, you and your friend looked very nice walking home today. A chill ran down my spine and panic flooded my veins as I scrambled to turn off my location services. With shaking, sweaty hands, I quickly texted Claire to warn her. My phone buzzed with another snap notification and my stomach dropped. I hesitantly opened it, only to release a blood-curdling scream at the sight. It was a graphic photo of Claire lying lifeless, her head riddled with bloody bullet holes. I could barely breathe as I called the police in hysterics, my words coming out in choked sobs as I showed them the chilling snaps that would be forever seared into my brain. As they rushed over, I sat paralyzed in anguish and disbelief, praying this was just a sick nightmare. But soon they confirmed my worst fears. They had found Claire's body in her basement, the perpetrator long gone. All that remained at the horrific scene was the murder weapon carelessly discarded beside my sweet friend. I deleted Snapchat immediately, my hands still shaking uncontrollably. Part of me wished I could permanently erase the gruesome image of Claire's fate from my mind. I was racked with guilt and kept replaying the events in my head. If only I had realized the danger of having my location visible to strangers online, Claire might still be alive. It was such a seemingly innocuous mistake that cost my best friend, my sister, her life. In the weeks that followed, I warned everyone I could about checking their social media privacy settings. You just never know who might be watching you. Cataloging your posts, piecing together your daily patterns and whereabouts. I lost Claire because of a seemingly harmless selfie. It's a cautionary tale I hope protects other young people out there. Claire and I had been friends since kindergarten, inseparable for over a decade. She was the sister I never had. We told each other everything, our hopes, dreams, fears, and secrets. I used to love our daily walks home, just talking and laughing together, capturing memories on Snapchat. Now those carefree memories are forever tainted by fear, grief, and the knowledge I could have prevented her death if I'd only disabled my location sooner. I'm still struggling to process the traumatic loss. Some days I can't get the image of Claire's body out of my mind. I constantly replay those events, wondering what I could have done differently. My counselor says these feelings are normal, that healing will take time. I know she's right, but it doesn't make it any easier. It comforts me to think Claire's death was not completely meaningless. Her story is a sobering reminder about online safety. That monster exploited a tiny location tag to stalk and murder my best friend. I never want that to happen to anyone else, so I share my cautionary tale for Claire. If it makes even one person double-check their social media settings, her death saved a life. Wherever she is now, I hope Claire knows her passing brought greater awareness about technology dangers. I miss her every day, her laughter, her wisdom beyond her years, our shared dreams and secrets. She will always be my best friend, and the lessons from her death will live on through me. I owe it to Claire to spread awareness so no one else suffers her fate. It's the only way I can attempt to transform this tragedy into purpose. The day I matched with her on Snapchat started out like any other. I was bored at work, absent-mindedly swiping through potential matches during my lunch break. That's when I first laid eyes on her profile picture, a gorgeous blonde with sparkling blue eyes and a smile that could light up a room. I did a double take, not believing someone who looked like a supermodel would be on this app. I quickly swiped right, though fully expecting we wouldn't match, but to my utter surprise, just moments later I got the notification that we were a match. My boring Tuesday afternoon instantly turned exciting. I could hardly focus for the rest of my workday, my mind racing and wondering why she had swiped right for me. I was just an average guy in my mid-20s, nothing special to look at. I had a bit of an awkward, goofy personality as well. Not exactly the type you'd expect to catch the eye of someone who looked like a celebrity, but for some crazy reason she had liked me back. Maybe she could look past appearances and connect with me for who I was on the inside. After work, I rushed home, eager to message her and see if we hit it off. I thought carefully about what to say to stand out from the countless other matches she probably had. I eventually sent a clever gif making fun of something on her profile, and to my relief, she responded right away. We started chatting about common interests, first like TV shows, music, and food. The conversation flowed surprisingly naturally, like we'd known each other for ages. Within just a few messages, I could already sense her warm, bubbly personality shining through. Over the next several days, we messaged constantly back and forth whenever we weren't working. I'd send her funny Snapchat selfies from the office. She'd sent me gorgeous glamour shots looking like she'd just stepped off a photo shoot. With every snap, I fell for her more and more, not just for her beauty, but her charm and wit. She got my quirky sense of humor and always knew how to make me smile. It felt too good to be true. After about a week of non-stop messaging, I finally asked her out on a real date. My hands were shaking as I typed the message and waited anxiously for her reply. But she said yes. She couldn't wait to meet up in person. I was over the moon. I couldn't believe I was taking this stunning girl on a date. In the week leading up to it, we messaged each other constantly, the excitement building. She'd send me flirty good morning selfies in bed. I'd gush to her about how beautiful she was. I spent hours picking out the perfect date spot, a hip new cafe downtown with an outdoor patio overlooking the river. I made reservations for Saturday evening at sunset. It was going to be magical. Finally, the big day I've been waiting for arrived. I spent forever getting ready, making sure I looked as sharp as possible. I even bought new clothes and got a fresh haircut for the occasion. I couldn't stop smiling thinking about how jealous other guys would be when they saw me with this bombshell. I arrived at the cafe early to get us a table on the patio with the perfect view. I ordered 2 iced teas and waited anxiously, checking my watch every 30 seconds. My leg bounced under the table as I scanned the crowd of people walking by, fully expecting a blonde goddess to appear at any moment. But the girl who finally came up to my table looking for me was nothing like the flirty, glamorous girl I had seen in all those Snapchat selfies. She was at least 50 pounds heavier and not conventionally attractive at all. My jaw actually dropped open in disbelief and utter confusion. This couldn't be right. Maybe she was lost and talking to the wrong guy. But sure enough, she introduced herself excitedly as my date for the evening. The same girl I'd been messaging nonstop all week, sharing my deepest thoughts and feelings with. Clearly, those photos did not match reality whatsoever. I had been catfished. I was in total shock and didn't know how to react. A roller coaster of emotions washed over me. Disappointment, anger, embarrassment. But I also felt bad for her. Maybe she used fake photos because she was insecure about her looks and thought I'd reject her if I saw the real her. I tried my best to keep an open mind and look past the lack of physical attraction. Beauty is only skin deep, right? But as we attempted to talk, the conversation was stilted and awkward, nothing like our witty banter over text. The more we interacted, the clearer it became. We simply didn't have chemistry in person. After about 20 excruciating minutes, I knew I had to end this date politely. I pretended to get an urgent call from work, apologized profusely, paid the bill, and made up an excuse about having to rush back to the office. She looked disappointed but didn't fight it as I gathered my things and headed swiftly for the exit. I felt awful leaving her there alone, but I also felt deceived. Why create such an elaborate, false persona online? It only ends up hurting both people once the truth comes out. I couldn't get the real her out of my mind as I replay our conversations and tried to make sense of it all. Had anything she shared been real? Or was it all lies in her personality? I had no idea who this person really was. When I got home, I immediately deleted her on Snapchat, feeling betrayed and frustrated. I was so disgusted by this catfishing scheme that I deleted all my dating apps entirely for a while. It made me realize you really can't trust anything you see online. People can completely misrepresent themselves through carefully curated photos and clever messaging. In the weeks after, I found myself overly analyzing every little detail of girls' dating profiles, trying to detect any signs of catfishing. It made me hyper-aware of all the ways people try to trick you online by showing their best selves and hiding their flaws. I started noticing a ton of subtle red flags, old photos, heavily edited pics, profiles that seemed too perfect. It was astonishing how common misrepresentation seemed to be. I'm still optimistic I'll meet someone real someday, but for now, I'm steering clear of online dating. This catfishing incident taught me you have to make genuine connections in person, face to face. I want to meet people the old-fashioned way from now on through friends or real-life activities. That's the only way to know if you truly have chemistry and if what you see is what you get. Someday when I'm ready to put myself back out there, I'll be a lot warier and take things much slower. Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. I won't let myself be tricked again. It was just another normal Friday night out with my friends. We started off at our favorite local bar downtown, the one with the great happy hour deals on margaritas and cheap appetizers. I remember clinking glasses to do a shot of tequila with my best friend Amy to kick off the night. The liquid burned going down but left us laughing and ready for a night of fun. We spent the next few hours posted up at the bar, chatting and people watching as we sipped cocktails. After happy hour ended, our group headed to a popular club down the street. We had to wait in a long line but eventually made our way past the bouncer. As soon as we entered, the pulsating music vibrated in my chest. The dance floor was packed with people letting loose. Amy and I made our way to the middle, dancing and singing along to the DJ's remixes. We took a break every so often to grab overpriced cocktails at the bar, not caring how much they cost. I was definitely more than a little drunk by midnight, but I was having a blast being carefree with my friends. I briefly remember chatting with a cute guy waiting for drinks. He said something that made me laugh, but in my drunken state, I don't think I even got his name. The rest of the night was a blur of dancing, drinking, laughing until my stomach hurt. Amy and I closed down the club, staying until the very last song. My feet were killing me from dancing in heels all night, but I didn't want the fun to end. When the lights came on, Amy and I realized we were pretty much the last ones there aside from staff cleaning up. We were both ready to call it a night, so I ordered us an Uber on my phone. The cool night air felt refreshing as we waited curbside for our ride. I realized I was definitely more intoxicated than planned, but Amy was in the same boat. She asked if she could crash at my place since it was closer, and of course I said yes. Amy had spent the night countless times before. The Uber arrived and Amy and I drunkenly sang along to the radio at full volume all the way to my apartment, probably annoying the poor driver. We stumbled up the stairs, me fumbling to get my keys in the lock as Amy leaned against the wall laughing. After finally getting the door open, I remember kicking off my heels haphazardly and immediately collapsing into bed, not even bothering to change out of my dress from the night out. The room was spinning and I just wanted it to stop. I heard Amy's footsteps head to the living room where she usually took the couch when she stayed over. My eyes felt heavy, and the next thing I knew, it was morning. I slowly opened my eyes, squinting at the sunlight peeking through the blinds. I had a massive headache pounding in my temples, my feet ached in pain, and my mouth felt like sandpaper. As I grabbed for my phone to check the time, I noticed a Snapchat notification from an account I didn't recognize. The name was just a random string of numbers. I was confused but curious, assuming it must be from someone I met the night before. I opened the snap, and what I saw made my heart drop into my stomach. It was a picture of me, passed out in my own bed. The angle was from above, as if someone was standing directly over me. I was still wearing the same black dress from the night before, now bunched up around my waist. My eye makeup was smudged all over the pillow under my face. It was unmistakably my bedroom in the photo. I recognized the nightstand, the framed photos on the wall like quilt. But Amy had crashed on the couch and I lived alone, so who could have possibly taken this picture? I immediately jumped out of bed, my head pounding, and checked that the front door was still locked. It was. I looked on the couch for Amy, but she was gone. Maybe she just left already. I called her cell, but it went straight to voicemail. My heart was racing now as I realized someone else must have been in my apartment while I was passed out. I frantically searched everywhere for signs of an intruder, but at first glance, nothing seemed out of place or stolen. Just as I was about to call the police in full panic mode, Amy finally called me back. She apologized for missing my call and said she woke up early feeling sick from the night before, so she just ordered an Uber home to sleep it off more. I felt momentary relief hearing she was okay, but she confirmed no one else came home with us. So, who sent this snap? How did they manage to get into my apartment and take a photo of me completely unconscious? I racked my foggy brain trying desperately to piece together memories from the blurry night before. Did I go home with someone else after the club? No, I distinctly remember only taking a car with Amy. Did we have a run-in with anyone suspicious at the bar or club? I couldn't recall anything out of the ordinary. My thoughts spiraled out of control as I imagined some complete stranger standing over me, watching me sleep. I felt so violated. The fact they actually sent me the photo made it even more twisted and sinister, like they were taunting me, letting me know they had been there. I called the police and filed a report, but with no signs of forced entry or theft. There wasn't much they could do. The officer suggested it could have been a random creep who happened to find an open window or unlocked door in my intoxicated state, but I couldn't shake the uneasy feeling that I was targeted for some reason. Over the next few weeks, I hardly slept. I tossed and turned, imagining someone lurking in the shadows just out of view. I upgraded my home security system, double-checked the locks multiple times before bed, and even bought pepper spray to keep on my nightstand. But I still didn't feel safe in my own home. I stopped going out with friends for a while, paranoid that whoever did this could still be following me, waiting for me to be vulnerable again. They tried to convince me it was just some random weirdo who managed to get lucky that one night. But deep down, my gut told me I was chosen for a reason. Something about the whole bizarre incident felt personal in a way I couldn't explain. To this day, every unknown Snapchat notification gives me anxiety, immediately taking me back to that morning. I still look over my shoulder when walking home late at night, and I'll never take that sense of comfort and security in my own space for granted again. I know the chances are low that person is still watching me, but I can't seem to shake the uneasy feeling. The violation I felt within the walls I once considered my sanctuary. I don't know if I'll ever look at Carefree Night Out the same way again. It was just another normal Saturday night for me. I was in my pajamas, curled up on the couch with a bowl of popcorn, flipping through the channels trying to find something to watch. I had decided on a quiet night and to catch up on some shows and get to bed early. As I was scrolling through social media, killing time before settling on a Netflix pick, I started noticing some strange snaps popping up from friends. The first one that caught my eye was from my friend James. It was a selfie of him with his arm around a girl who looked exactly like me. He had captioned it "Great Party Last Night." I stared at the snap, completely confused. I didn't go to any party last night. In fact, I had stayed in the whole night. The more I looked at the photo, the more the girl really did resemble me. Same long brown hair, same nose piercing, same jean jacket I wore all the time. But how could that be? I shook my head, assuming it must be some old photo James was reposting as a joke. But then more snaps started rolling in, all showing me at this mystery party. There was a group shot with Sarah, Tyler, and some other friends, the girl impossible to distinguish from me. A dancing video where she seemed to be the life of the party, flipping her hair and jumping around just like I would. More selfies with various friends, all reminiscing about how crazy last night's party was. My heart started to race. How could there be so many photos and videos of me at a party I didn't even attend? Had I completely blacked out an entire night of my life? No. I distinctly remembered staying home in my pajamas, watching reruns of The Office. Someone who looked exactly like me must have impersonated me and inserted herself into my friend group. But who? And how did they manage to resemble me so closely that none of my friends noticed? I frantically texted my closest friends, asking if this was some elaborate prank using old photos. But they unanimously swore these were all real recent snaps from the party last night. James confirmed the selfie of them together was from last night, saying, "Don't you remember dancing on a coffee table and leading a conga line around the house?" Sarah said her snap was also recent, telling me, "You really don't remember belting out 90s karaoke all night." None of it lined up with my quiet night in. The more they told me about my wild antics, the more convinced I became someone was impersonating me. I asked my friends to send me any other snaps they had so I could analyze this mystery girl up close. The more photos they sent, the deeper my panic grew. This girl was identical to me in every way, right down to the chipped front tooth I got in middle school. If I didn't know better, I'd think it really was me in these videos that I had somehow completely blacked out an entire night of partying. My friends and I started comparing notes, piecing together everything this impersonator did at the party that sounded nothing like me. She was pounding shots, dancing provocatively with random guys, even got into a shouting match with Sarah over some boy. I've never been a big drinker or gotten into public fights, especially not with my best friend. Despite my adamant claims that I did not attend this party, all my friends were convinced I had just blacked out and didn't remember anything. But I knew there was absolutely no way I had done any of the things in those snaps. Some stranger who eerily resembled me had wormed her way into my social circle, pretending to be me and acting like some wild party girl. I racked my brain, trying to figure out who could have pulled off this bizarre stunt. After a mostly sleepless night, an idea hit me. There was only one person I knew who looked enough like me to possibly impersonate me so flawlessly: my twin sister Jen. Jen and I had grown apart over the years and barely spoke anymore, but we looked nearly identical. I always got the sense she harbored some jealousy over my stable life compared to her wild partying ways. Could she have done this? Could she have inserted herself into my life as some twisted idea of twin fun? I decided I needed to confront Jen and get to the bottom of this. I drove over to her apartment and banged on the door until she finally answered, and sly grin spreading across her face. "I guess you saw the snaps," she said coyly. My blood boiled, and I demanded to know why she pretended to be me to hijack my social life. She just laughed and claimed it was just a little twin fun. I was shocked and furious. Jen had clearly impersonated me to take over my friend group, intentionally making me look like some unhinged party girl to all my friends. She clearly had some deep issues with me that led to this warped idea of twin bonding. I told her in no uncertain terms to stay away from me and my friends, and I got out of there as quickly as I could. This disturbing identity theft left me feeling violated and uneasy. I still don't understand how Jen managed to impersonate me so flawlessly that none of my closest friends noticed it wasn't me. She knew details about my life and style that really sold her act. I'm just grateful I figured out her disturbing scheme before she could do any more damage. From now on, I'll be keeping an eye out for any signs of my devious twin sister trying to take over my life again. Her idea of twin bonding went way too far, and I'll make sure she can never use our resemblance against me like that ever again. Thanks for listening in. If you like these stories and want to hear more, then please subscribe and like and support this new channel. We have more stories for you to listen to.